video that I wanted to share with you because I couldn't get my voice up for the last class, and I'm um, not there yet fully. So you start with uh, the syllabus, and you can see that you have to do chapter 5 and 7. We completed chapter 3 last time, and then you have to do this homework, and that homework is explained in this extensively in this video. So please look at this and do the video, uh, uh, your homework, and then these are the suggested problems that you have to take. So I hope uh, that to get back to this problems with group 1, and then I need for the group 2 to come in, so to talk about chapter 5 and 7. So with that said, let me now go to this PowerPoint uh, of chapter 5 and 6. So if you go to the beginning, and what is you need to emphasize is the fact that, well, how do you determine the price of forward and futures, which are basically the same. And so what needs and then there are certain examples. Please do this and find out your answer to that. Well, if you're short, what is your profit? If you're long, what is your profit? And then you need to also find out whether there is an arbitrage opportunity to whether this scenario or this scenario here. Basically, what you have to do is go to this cost of carry model. This is the continuous time, but for the other ones, the discrete one is S sub 0 times 1 plus R, and for 1 year. And then if you would like to do for 3 months, it is 1 plus R to the power 3/4, uh, 1/4, and so forth. And then the trick here is that, well, if f sub 0, the thing that you get, is greater than the right hand side, then you say you short the one that is greater, has to be shorted. You short futures, and then you long spot. And then you can do the other ways. If right hand side is greater than the left hand side, that means if spot market is greater than the forward or futures market alternative, then you say that, well, go long forward or futures and short the stock, and that will go for arbitrage opportunities will be found out. The other thing that I'd like you to emphasize is that forwards and futures prices are almost always the same, except for this scenario, because in futures you have the margin, and therefore as interest rates are up, so your portfolio value will go up, margin account will go up, therefore futures price should be greater than forward price. And the reverse is also true when interest rate is going down. And you can do the same thing for with the cost of carry model with stock index, and these are the ones, I mean, for dividend paying yield, interest rates is there, the cost of carry, and then Q is the one. And right now, then you after this and then again this same rule applies, that if f sub 0 is greater than the right hand side, then you should buy the stocks underlying the index and sell the futures. And if f sub 0 is less than the right hand side, then you basically buy the futures and sell the stocks underlying the index. And then you and this is called index arbitrage, and it is done programmatically. Computer program does that for you. Then this is your interest rate parity. Those of you who have taken international finance, that's the way you do this, but it is in continuous time. So we are not going to focus too much on this. So I'm just letting you know that, well, a similar thing can be done for the scenario. The most important slide is this one where you say K is the required rate of return and interest rate or cost of carry is this. So at that time, your expected future spot rate, which you have to generate in order to invest in your primary asset, so has to be equal to F sub 0, which is basically the flat line that we saw. And then this is the normal backwardation part of it when K is greater than R. That means that is riskiness is greater and the risk is transferred, therefore it has to be F sub 0 less than EST. Negative systematic risk is the normal contango where F sub 0 is greater than EST. So that is from chapter 5 that the places that you have to emphasize. And then we go to chapter 7. Again, you need to emphasize a few points here, and you can watch my video too. And this is the plain vanilla interest rate swap is fixed for floating or floating for floating. Floating for floating is basically known as basis swap. Excuse me. And then the traditional fixed for floating is the plain vanilla swap. And one thing to notice is that it is fixed earlier and then paid in rear. So LIBOR is fixed at 4.2 and then it is paid the following 3 months or 6 months, whatever the terms of agreement is. And that's the way it is. On the other hand, fixed cash flow remains the same. And then it is always paid in net terms multiplied by the notional principal of the swap. So go through this plain vanilla swaps and in your book, and then do not have to think. Basically, what I'm saying is know the standard one and be able to solve a problem along that with that. And then if you see transforming a liability, and I also gave the page number and figure number, please go there and see. That is LIBOR is given by Microsoft and then Intel, and then one way is a fixed rate and LIBOR is given to Microsoft. And so you bring in the financial institutions in between, and you see there is a cut in here. Whatever is paid is cut in here by the, they take a cut and then goes to Intel. And same thing with the transforming an asset. Let's say you are thinking of there is a people who is dealing with S&P 500 mutual fund, and then there is another one, a FTSE mutual fund, and then if you would like to say, no, I do not like the asset of FTSE at this point in time, so you can transform your asset and transfer it to the other institution in exchange getting that S&P 500 one. And again, there is a reference here, go and please go into the details. And then we have to also please emphasize more on comparative advantage arguments on table 7.4 page 1760. You can see in here that this AAA corporation has advantage in fixed rate as well as floating rate borrowing. So it seems that AAA dominates the market at BBB, but is there any way that there can be a win-win situation? And swap tells us that, well, even though they have absolute advantage, AAA has an absolute advantage of a fixed and floating over BBB, but they will focus on fixed because they have a comparative advantage, and then BBB is a comparative advantage in here, and then they do accordingly. That is BBB giving LIBOR and AAA giving fixed. And you can figure this one again. Go to the book and please go through the details, and then you have to get this is for your information only, that we can get a swap zero curve. A zero curve is a standard of comparison, that is how the swaps are overvalued or undervalued. And to on your exam also you have to be able to get the valuation of swaps. And one of the things that you need to be able to do is uh, to go through an example. One of the example is here, but then and then you collect all those cash flow and see that the present value of bond fixed rate and then the floating rate, and you subtract one from the other and you get the swap value. So that is the value of the swap. And then more importantly is this one. You can see that the swaps are actually series of bonds. One is fixed rate, another is floating rate, and then you figure out the total value. And here is this example is very um, uh, worthwhile regarding the clarity. So if we look at this dollar swap counterparty, you can see that the dollar cash flows, they give 15 million and then they receive in return zero point 0.9 million over the years, and years are just 1 year, but in swap term it can be also after 6 months or after 3 months. So but this has, the swap is distinguished from futures in the sense that this is long term, and swaps are long term, but futures are very short term. So this is the dollar cash flow and this is the sterling cash flow. So this is like a dollar bond and this is sterling bond. So that's why we say the swap are actually uh, series of bonds. And then again, they make the case for the comparative advantage case because of taxes. But this is two different currency involved at this point in time. So previous one was same currency, it is two different currencies. So evaluation of currency swap, please do these examples. This is for two currencies, and then you have to give this net amount. So this is what I wanted to highlight for you folks, and for the if you want to go into further example, again example is page 174. And what I would like to do at this point in time is to also tell you uh, let me see whether that is I can get the syllabus. Yeah, that as you prepare, keep your midterm on your mind. So this is the review that you in chapter 1 you need to know the definitions of forwards and futures, option swaps, and payoffs for futures and options. And then in chapter 2, mechanics like mark to market, closing out the position, and convergence of futures price to spot price, and types of orders that we have gone through. And then hedging, chapter 3 is something that you need to focus. That is, we are right now we are going through normal backwardation, normal contango, and MG failure, basis risk. All of those are also very good for your exam. And then I say do example of this 3.1 on page 57 and others. And same way for chapter 5, I am emphasizing those equations so that you focus on them in view of the midterm exam. And then also for chapter 7, what are the things that you need to focus? Like here I say for page 5, 153 to 158 and 159 to 62, and then valuation of this. So please keep this in mind while you are reviewing. I believe that you have already gone through this PowerPoint, and now that I said this specifically, focus on the slides, some of the slides, and then finally you need to be able to answer all of those. I might get one of the groups to solve these particular problems that I'm talking about, like here and like here. Okay, so thank you very much for your understanding, and I we'll see you next Monday.